Hi everyone and welcome to the 20th episode of our online tarot course series. In this episode we are going to take a look at the symbolism and interpretations behind the Sun tarot card bearing the number 19, so 1 in numerology, and corresponding to the astrological symbolism of the Sun. This is one of those tarot cards which usually bears a predominantly positive symbolism each and every time when it pops up. It does herald something good. Sometimes there is a very good reason for it. For example, something good happens, a completion, something to guide you to where you want to be in life. But other times it doesn't really have to have any logical or rational reason, because it can just simply depict a period, a moment in life when you are absolutely okay, when life is good, when you're living life, when you're experiencing life the way it is most comfortable for the person who you are. The feeling and the general sensation of the Sun card, well, it's almost like a summer afternoon when everything is full of light, when everything is warm, when everything is calm, when problems, all the small little details or the difficulties of life are just a memory, and sometimes not because we don't have them in our lives, but because we are focusing on our well-being, so there is no reason why life cannot feel like a summer afternoon. And what's more important, in summer, even after the sun sets, the warmth and the summer vibe and all the magic of the sun and the summer still lingers in the nighttime. So basically it's not just a beautiful day, but it's a beautiful and easy cycle as well. For example, an opposite to this might be, let's say, a tower moment, when life can feel like a massive storm, like a never-ending transformation and change. Or the Hangman card, when life feels like a prison, when there is so much inner restlessness. And even though the expression of those cards doesn't really mean that it leads to something negative, quite the contrary, many times crisis leads to the greater good. It is still, one way or another, either urgent, stressful, or uncomfortable. So the Sun is one of those tarot cards which is the opposite of this. Regardless of how things are, it still depicts calm, it depicts some kind of joy, enjoying, living, experiencing the present without difficulties, without struggles, without stress and anxiety, so to speak. And it's not always due to external causes. Sometimes you just feel okay. Sometimes happiness, joy, thirst for life just radiates from the inside. When our unconscious minds are not restless, when our psyches are not running uncomfortable, traumatic, painful programming, self-sabotage, etc., well then there is no reason why the light of our consciousness cannot just shine and radiate and light up our lives and those of our loved ones, making the world a lovelier, a calmer, more peaceful, and of course happier place. But this is just the general feeling, the vibration of the Sun card. Its symbolism has much to do with its astrological correspondent, which is also the Sun, but seen as a celestial body, an astrological influence, as a power player in the sky. And without a shadow of a doubt, the Sun is one of the most important astrological energies because it is our main luminary. It provides the light in every single area of our lives. For example, when the sun transits a specific sign, well, it illuminates it. It puts the emphasis on it. It activates its energies in a very gentle, creative, and self-expressive manner. And that's why someone's sun sign is very important, because the sun is also our identity, who it is that we are. And not just who it is that we were created to be, not just who it is that we acknowledge ourselves to be, but also all of our conditioning, everything that we have learned, our education, and naturally also our ego, because that is also part of our story. That is basically what animates us. That is what gives us an identity, even though that identity can be somewhat illusionary, imperfect, and highly subjective, because it is us who choose who we want to be. Yet still, this identity, this ego, is absolutely imperatively necessary for us to function as earthly beings in order to embody what we represent. And just as the sun shines and radiates, it bombards everything with photons, with light, so to speak, the same way our identities, even our ego, has to be expressed. This is how we shine our light onto the world, onto other people. So in tarot, many times the sun card is also associated with friendships, with people who are close to us, and us being able to spend time with them, to communicate, to express who it is that we are, and also receive their own lights, their own way of self-expression. So it always depicts a rather harmonious time when we are connected with those people who are very important in our lives, when we are able to express ourselves freely without the fear of judgment. And also it can depict laughter, lightheartedness, having a good time, not taking things and life that very seriously, and just spending quality time with those people who are very important to us. Again, the symbolism of summer. The numerological expression of the sun, so 19 is 1, and 1 is all about individuality, singularity, the power of self-expression, the power of the individual, and yes, many times also the ego, which doesn't have to be anything negative, especially in this sense, because basically it is the ego which keeps every single part of your being, especially down here on earth, together, so you can function as one entity, as a singular consciousness. Like just as the sun, with its gravity, it keeps the whole of the solar system together, not just the big planets, but also the asteroids, the comets, the small dwarf planets, everything. Similarly, it is our ego that keeps our lives together. But the sun, bearing the symbolism of 1, just like the magician, is not really the same kind of expression, because 19 is both 1 and 9, and 9 does refer to a lot of life experience, having went through a lot of ups and downs, everything which basically shapes our identity, makes us gentle, makes our self-expression be a blessing in the life of others, and also the ability to deeply appreciate life and everything that we have. So we are not just planning our journeys, we're not just embodying our masteries, our talents, our skills, our intellects, but we are also expressing deep gratitude for being everything that we are, and for everything good and bad which ever happened to us in this lifetime. So the magician is also creative energy, but a more intellectual one. The sun is basically everything. It is intellectual, but also divine, also emotional, It is basically the universe experiencing itself through us and our identities and everything that we embody, including our conditioning, including the shadow, including the ego, including everything that we could not overcome in this life. Another reason why the sun is such a good sign, it is such a positive card, is because the home sign of the sun is Leo. So basically it means living from the heart. When our consciousnesses are infused with pure feelings, with passion, with love, all the good side of the heart space, then it is only natural for us to feel alive, to appreciate everything, and to feel so very connected to the self and others as well. When we are so harmonious with ourselves, then it is so very easy to be harmonious, forgiving, generous, kind, and understanding to other people as well. When we don't fear the self and our own weaknesses, then our hearts are filled with courage and the excitedness to live life. So just as life has to have downs, it has to have rainy days, it has to have tower moments, similarly it has to have sun moments. It has to have moments when life is good, when life is rewarding, and when you can just be yourself without any hindrance, without any problems. And usually problems are born from the inside, but happiness is also born from the inside. So very many times the Sun card actually symbolizes a karmic episode, may that be longer term or shorter term, when you are on like a karmic holiday, out from your problems, out from your old patterns, out from the urgency, the stress, from the gravity of karma, and you can just enjoy yourself, do things which make you happy, enjoy your freedom, or enjoy the company of people important to you. The sun is also a card which symbolizes one's personal truth, when the light of your consciousness just simply irradiates and it shines on your life. So that means that you're able to see things from a very clear perspective. Your mindset is dominated by optimism, by positive thinking, but you're living it in the now, so you're basically doing it, manifesting it. You are the king of your own life, of your own castle, just like the sun is the king of the sky, at least from an astrological perspective. Classic versions of the tarot also depict a child or two young children playing under the summer sun. And this is also very important because the sun very many times symbolizes the inner child. When the inner child is happy, when the inner child is out playing, when the inner child has friends to share, friends to play with, or when you're expressing your creativity in a very free and playful manner. And for those of you who are parents, or you are doing a reading to someone who is a parent, it can symbolize their own children, or it can also symbolize the most loved person in their lives, whoever that may be. Naturally, like every tarot card, the Sun card also has a rather unfavorable expression, but even its unfavorable expression is highly subjective, because it's not unfavorable for the person living it. It is rather more unfavorable for other people or for the situation it might depict, because the sun in reverse position usually represents ego, but in a way where it's rather uncomfortable for other people, because it can be like a very self-centered attitude. It can be a very selfish gesture. It can also be the influence of a narcissistic person, Or, you know, a situation when someone, or actually us, shine our light a little bit way too intensely, so much so that it can make other people feel very, very uncomfortable, overshadowed, eclipsed. For example, when someone has a very, very strong talent, skill, when they're really, really good at something, but they kind of express that excessively without any kind of modesty, well, that can feel a little bit too much for other people. Other times it can represent that we're only seeing and looking at ourselves, our own situation, and totally ignoring other people or other elements of the story which don't really depend on us, our well-being, our preferences. So basically, we are living life a little bit too selfishly. But as I said, that might not really feel uncomfortable or bad whatsoever for us. It might just feel bad for other people. And you know, when it is always that we are the stars of our own show, when life and everything in it is only about us, when we are the center of the universe always, well, you know, we kind of cut off valuable lessons, valuable experiences that others might share with us. We might simply blind ourselves to the stories, feelings, and ways of expression of other people, making our lives and the experience in this life that much poorer. It doesn't have to be anything negative. It doesn't even have to lead to something negative. But there are times in life when the sun sets, when there is winter, so the light doesn't really warm anything up. When we might find ourselves alone in life, we might have moments or years or cycles, and in those situations, well, if we haven't learned from the experience of other people, we have to go through the hardship ourselves. So that is the downside of living a very selfish and self-centered life. Also, sometimes it depicts the most unfavorable expression of the inner child, because the inner child can become so very immersed into having fun and, you know, the symbolic summer, that it forgets responsibility, duty. It might not take things which are really, really serious into consideration. And this will always lead to problems piling up, and then there comes a moment when we just have to face them. It can also mean a hedonistic moment when we are deeply immersed into the joys and pleasures of life. And this might not be the real problem. The real problem might be that we might not be able to become detached or to shift our focus onto other things when it is needed. So basically it can represent an addiction to the joys of life. Another unfavorable expression of the Sun card is when, you know, we are the stars of the show with or without expressively wanting this. For example, there are moments in life when we become, let's say, more popular than we're comfortable with, when friends seek our company non-stop 24/7, when we are a little bit way too magnetic, when way too many things and people gravitate around us. Or in a totally different way expressing this, those moments in life when we simply cannot become or be self-centered enough to keep everything revolving around us. Like an example, imagine a Hollywood star or a famous person wanting to live a period like a not famous person, like an average person, but they might not be able to pull this off, because think about it. They can't go to a shop, they cannot go to certain places because they would be invaded by fans, by journalists, etc. So basically there are moments in life when being the star of the show, and as I said, with or without our express wills, can be a big burden. Now in the following, let's see how the Sun card symbolism can play out in combination with other tarot cards. And one of the best possible combinations is when the Sun card clarifies another tarot card which usually has a rather negative or uncomfortable expression. For example, like the Tower clarified by the Sun card, Death clarified by the Sun card, or Moon reverse clarified by the Sun, Nine of Swords and the Sun, Five of Swords and the Sun, Five of Coins, Five of Cups, and the Sun. Well, this can represent that whatever crisis you're going through, may that be fate, karma, may that be like a psychological breakdown, emotional pain. Three of Swords and the Sun, for example, severe heartache, severe fears, someone truly hurting your feelings. Or Ten of Swords and the Sun card, Ten of Swords, defeat, the end, not being able to succeed regardless of what we do, having to surrender, having to accept a loss and move on, etc. So when these are clarified by the Sun card, well, it does mean that regardless of how bad it feels like, regardless of how negative it seems, regardless of how intense the problems and the anxiety, stress, depression, whatever it is still leading you to your own personal summer. It is still meant to awaken a part of your being which will make your life complete. May that be like learning a big karmic lesson. May it be the universe testing your loved ones, your friends, your important people through your hardships to reveal to you who is truly your friend, who truly supports you, who truly loves you, and who does not. Very many times we have problems and difficulties in our lives, not really in order to harm us or to teach us something about ourselves, but rather to reveal who it is in our lives that is true, authentic, genuinely loves us, supports us, and is part of our stories, and who isn't. Other times we have difficulties in life, especially when they don't depend on us, when they're karmic or misfortune, etc. Because it has to make us vulnerable, it has to make us, symbolically speaking, victims in order for other people in our lives to fulfill their contracts, their karmic promises towards us and our souls, or even when it's not really karmic at all, when someone promised to help us when we needed the most in life, because we also did the same in the past. So sometimes this agreement is quite literal. And regardless of how these events play out, if the Sun card is there or if the Sun card is the resolution, well, these will always represent our greatest good. And whatever we might have to suffer or have suffered, it's going to be more than worth it, because the Sun card promises us a state of genuine happiness, acceptance, and being okay with everything. So it's not just as simple as getting over the problems, getting over the hardship, and rebuilding our lives, but it's also where we are genuinely grateful and we do see the great divine plan in everything that happened to us. So it's really, really positive. Whenever the Sun card pops up as an advice or guidance, well, it can represent for us to express who it is that we are without any fear, without holding back. It can also represent us passionately using our creativity, playing with, let's say, ideas, thoughts, plans, having courage to make new friends, having courage to accept new people in our lives, having courage and the freedom to simply embrace life, enjoy life without, our inner Saturns, our limitations, our own judgments holding us back. For example, for some people it's like a really unhealthy spirit of responsibility and duty, which many times is like an inner slave driver, forcing them to focus much more than it's healthy on the Saturnian things of life, as in duties, responsibilities, work, contracts, agreements, promises, etc. One of the most favorable combinations is like the Sun and the World card. That basically means happy ending. It means that everything is going to be more than okay, and the positive outcome of whatever it is, it's written in the stars, it is fated, it is part of your karma. Or the Sun with the World reversed, it can mean that it is absolutely within your power to create a positive outcome for yourself. As I have spoken about this earlier, the unfavorable expressions, so this also means its combinations of the Sun card, is really tricky to understand because it might not be uncomfortable for us personally, because the Sun always means the self. So it always has to do with us, our choices, our actions, and whatever we express. So it can always come as a rather unpleasant or unexpected surprise when the Sun reversed is combined with certain more negative cards, like let's say the Sun reversed and the Devil, Sun reversed and the Magician reversed, or simply the Magician, Sun reversed, 5 of Swords, 7 of Swords, Sun reversed and 9 of Swords. In these situations, well, it actually shows us that we are the troublemakers. The problem actually lies with us and our ego. Within a reading, one would usually expect the universe and the wisdom of the tarot to point out the enemy in the form of other people in our lives, but when it points out that we are the enemy and maybe others are victims of our ego or our twisted way of perceiving life and reality, well, then it can truly surprise us and have us ask ourselves, what is it that we are not doing fairly or in an equitable way, or maybe what is the great excess in our lives which leads to the situation. Sun and the Devil might simply represent that you're not being honest with yourself, you're deceiving yourself, you're deluding yourself. The Sun reversed and the Wheel of Fortune reversed, well, it can mean that our optimism, our beliefs, hopes, the positivity that we try to manifest is a little bit unrealistic, excessive, or sometimes maybe even toxic, because it just disconnects us from reality. The Sun reversed, and for example, 7 of Cups, even 7 of Cups reversed, it might indicate that unconscious desires, dreams and feelings, which, as I said, are almost at the limit of unconscious and conscious, are our main driving forces. So we need to take a look at what is inside of us in order to figure out what we truly want. Or let's say Sun reversed and the Hangman card, well, it might indicate that we are not being empathic, we're not being sympathetic, we are not embodying compassion, maybe we are not listening to other people who are important in our lives, and we might regret it later, not because something bad can happen, but rather because we had the opportunity to help, to be good friends, to be there for others, and we just missed out on that. Very many times the Sun reversed combined with, let's say, 5 of Swords, 7 of Swords, 3 of Cups reversed, or many times even the Devil, might be just a warning sign to tell you, be careful not to gossip, Be careful about white lies, about twisting and altering stories and how you communicate, what you say about other people, because it might have a negative effect on your image and how people perceive you and your identity, of course. In certain readings, when you ask for guidance, especially spiritual guidance or big karmic questions, and the Sun reversed and the High Priestess, Eight of Cups or maybe Two of Swords, the Moon or any other psychological card pops up, it can say that the tarot cannot really answer you because you do not trust your intuition sufficiently to decipher the meaning, or it can simply mean that your intuition is already telling you the guidance, the outcome, or whatever your question is. You just need to listen to it and believe it, trust it. When it comes to guidance, naturally the Sun card usually means something really positive. For example, Sun and one of the aces, well, it means that an opportunity is coming your way and you just have to grab it, seize it, use it when it enters your sphere of awareness. Sun and the Emperor, for example, trust yourself, have faith in yourself, have courage, tune up your self-confidence and your self-worth. The Sun and the High Priest, have true faith in yourself, have faith in your life story, in your destiny, or have faith in the divine. Do not be shy to commit to something, for example. The Sun and the Lovers, the Sun and Two of Cups, have courage to express your love, or be brave enough to receive and accept the love of others. And also, this is one of those tarot cards which can indicate in a rather authentic fashion a time frame, even though, to ask about time of when something will happen, the precise date and etc. is not really advised, especially with tarot, because time is so very non-linear for the symbolic mind, and tarot is all about the symbolic mind. But the Sun card can indicate someone's birthday or the month when someone was born. It can also indicate the biological clock ticking inside of us, so to speak. So certain cycles in our lives are also written in our genes, in our physical bodies. For example, the Sun card with the Empress card may indicate that you are approaching a cycle where you're ready to become a parent, a mother, to give birth to a child, especially for females. Or the card sometimes with the Emperor or the High Priest or even the World card for males might indicate that your biological clock is telling you that you are ready to have a committed relationship, to establish a family of your own. The Sun and, for example, Four of Wands might indicate that you're ready to have a place, a home of your own, or to upgrade your home, or to have an addition. The Sun and the Ten of Cups might indicate someone from the distant past re-entering your life and bringing a lot of joy with it. Or simply the Sun and the Wheel of Fortune might indicate a lucky time. It might indicate that prosperity, well-being, happiness is returning to your life. Or let's say the Sun and the Fool, the Sun and Hangman reversed might indicate that a time of profound change for the better, or that a wonderful new beginning is entering your life imminently. Last but not least, I would like to finish this course with an advice, is to experiment with readings, experiment with different spreads, build up a little bit of experience for yourself, and determine what the Sun card means for you, for your specific situation. What is your own unique take, way of interpretation of the Sun card, and that can only be accomplished by practicing it. So practice makes perfect. The more you practice, the more each and every single tarot card is going to reveal its unique symbolism for you personally. The tarot is almost like a language that our symbolic minds speak. So like with every language, we have to repeat, we have to practice, we have to speak it and use it in different situations in order to try and master it. So with this being said, this concludes today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, bye for now.